So today we are very lucky to have Roya with us. How are you going?
Good, thank you.
That's good. Have you had a good day?
Yeah, that was a perfect day.
It's been raining a lot, so...
Yeah, it has been raining a lot, and as I know here, like having clients, it's an excellent day.
It is.
And constantly raining. What did you say this morning? You love this rain?
I love the rain, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not with you. Not for, like, 2 days is enough.
Yeah.
But not 2 weeks, like, raining. That drives me crazy.
That's fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
So for everyone at home, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Richmond.
I was born and raised in Iran, so I'm from Celt community. I came to Australia and I started to build a life 12 years ago. I went to Curtin University to do my master's degree in occupational therapy, and my passion is mental health, and I started to work in my mental health. Honestly, it was hard to get into mental health as an occupational therapist. Yeah. This is a topic that we might consider to talk later. But yeah, and then I started to work at Richmond Wellbeing in different programs, supporting people with mental health, and I am honored to be here. We are not in their heart, we are not in their, like, we don't understand them. We just there to, when we get to start supporting them, we start asking about that person. We know that support system must be family-centered and person-centered. We can't divide them when we are interacting with a family or even with the person. So yeah, it is difficult and it's hard for them to find out what services are available for them. Where should they start? Where should they get help? Who they can trust? And sometimes it's hard for them to open up. Sometimes they think they can do everything on their own till they start feeling burnout.
Yeah, it takes a long time for you to build that relationship with them, for them to open up, but then also for their support networks to get into contact, if they exist.
If they exist.
Yeah.
You have to build the rapport with the family, you have to show them that you are there to help them, and because they have experienced lots of difficulty, they have issues with trust, so building rapport, making trust, starting to work, and we are talking about time. How much time you're going to lose in between.
Yeah, all that time they then aren't able to access the supports, or at least the level of supports which they would then need.
Of feeling of loss within the system. Yeah. So they can't carry, with this issue of disability, you can't expect the family to know everything because they have been engaged or they have not been too much engaged, so they don't have all the information.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
No, you can't, and you can't expect them to know.
Kind of drawing it back towards, kind of, to say, before they have the plan. How have you had experience working with people before the plan, and how you helped kind of them navigate what needs they would need beforehand?
Yes, and this is the difficult part. This is the challenging part. Usually, this starts with the person who goes to a GP. Okay, I am in a relationship with too many GPs who receive people who comes and say, okay, our children have got this difficulty. They are like, okay, now we are in a process of diagnosing. They have, I think they are training for GPs for NDIS now. They start the workshops, but before that, they didn't know what should they do. And they were, if some of them who were smart, they were like, because GPs are focusing on medical point of view. They are not trained to know what social services are available for people who are seeking services. There are lots of brochures out there. If you go and sitting in a waiting area, you can see, oh, there are too many. But I don't think GPs are coming out and say, oh, okay, I think you have to go to Dada for support for art. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Because they don't have time. I totally understand. If you go to the clinics, you don't see an occupational therapy or social worker's desk there. There is no one there. So I know they have referred a family to me. She was going through a very difficult time, 5 children. And I think each child has got their own difficulty. And she was going through divorce. The partner was abusive. She has her own health issues. Okay, how can I expect a mother going through that difficult time finding a service? Because anxiety kicks in, you can't concentrate, your mental health is going down the track. Okay, now I'm going to sit with a doctor. And how long you have with a doctor? 10 minutes? The longest you can get, 20 minutes? And they are like, okay, we will find a service for you. No, they will prescribe medication. That's the gap. That's the issues that I have experienced. And I sat with that mom and I was like, and the prices. If you go to OT without any fund support, how are you going to afford it?
Yeah, it's really expensive.
The Medicare is not paying that much. The Medicare, I think they pay $65 or something. If I'm not making mistakes, there is a program which is called Better Access Mental Health, which is a different scheme. But if you go and say, I want this child to be assessed because the GP thinks he is behind, so you have to go to the community children's services, be in the line, maybe 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That early intervention, the golden time has passed. Now you get the diagnosis, and I think they are figuring out some sort of help.
But it takes a few years to get there.
Yeah, but it takes years to get that support. But when I had that client, I was very surprised that, okay, so why did he refer you to me as, I know the GP knew me as I'm the OT, because he knew me from like a community. He knew me, oh, Roya is an occupational therapist. I'm going to send email to her. And I sat there and was like, okay, what am I going to do for you? Because you can't, technically you can't afford private services. Do you have a fund for like community services? No. How can we get the community services fund? This is where the social workers comes in. I don't have that skills.
Yeah.
I don't know about all the community services. This is where the social workers know what to do.
Who have those connections.
This is like, services should work together like a chain, but I think this chain is broken. This is my perspective. Maybe someone comes in and say, hey, Roya, you don't know a thing. But this is what I have learned. After 4 years, I can sit and say, when you work with NDIS, the provider doesn't have the information. You ask, okay, can I see, they introduce you to some softwares and they say, oh, the document is there and the document is just the NDIS plan.
Or yeah, it's just the like the service agreement.
Yeah.
It's not the reoccurring notes.
No, it's just...
One of the things you were saying is how traumatizing it can be, sitting in that GP, having those discussions about this is the kind of help I need. And for people with psychosocial disabilities, it's kind of another level up on those difficulties. Do you have any advice or experiences kind of helping people have those conversations?
But if you're traumatized and been through the health services and you're sitting there, this is my quote, I say, you were not born yesterday. You had huge trauma carrying with you that people told you, that promised you that they're going to help you, and then they vanished in the air. This is the person sitting in that GP room.
Yeah.
This is too much. And then what they give you, this is the difficulty from the client's feedback. What they said is, it is hard to get the GP to understand their needs. It's hard for them to tell the GP that I have a backache and I need the Nordic sticks to walk, because they look at you and say, oh, you have got a painkiller. Why do you need the Nordic sticks? This is a different thing. I think, again, from my experience and the client's feedback, it's hard to support GPs or tell the GPs that you need to do this for us. Yeah. Because they see things from medical point of view. It's a top-down approach. While the social worker, occupational therapist, it's a bottom-up approach. We look at the needs, we try to understand the person, and then we are trying to facilitate access to those services. While the GPs or the medical system is like, okay, you have got PTSD, this is the medication for the PTSD. If it gets more, if it is if it's progressed to something else, you go to a hospital. That's what happens.
So kind of tracking back to the provider's point of view, it's about having those conversations and going from that bottom up, going, okay, what do you need, and trying to create that safe space so that they can communicate that, and kind of going together to going to the GP or then applying for the NDIS once you've kind of got that relationship.
I don't have an experience sitting in GP asking me, what do you need? What do you think your needs are? They are like, okay, you have got these symptoms, and based on the symptoms, this is the solution. Yeah. While we're asking, okay, we are focusing on the needs of the person. What makes their life in a better quality or have a better quality. As OTs, we use lots of assessments to learn about the person's functional capacity and measure how are they functioning in that occupation. And then based on that, start providing support. This is, again, it looks like we're providing social services, while the medical services is not aligned with us. If you go to a hospital, like I have a client today that I said she's going through traumatic issues. She has been suffocated with a pillow, and she had PTSD since that time. She has been through a lot. She had something like a stroke, symptoms of a stroke, and they needed to do MRI, going to that tunnel.
Oh my gosh, after all of that.
After all of that, let's have an MRI. You want to put that, because when they do the MRI, they will, from your brain, they will put those braces on your neck, they will put headphones on your ear, they may cover something, your mouth or something, and she was like, she's still recovering from the MRI.
There seems to be like so many different steps and barriers that people need to get through. And this is just into understanding their own needs before they apply for the NDIS. That just, it seems, it's a very large hill to climb.
Yes, it is. And then with the NDIS, you know, when you're talking about needs, we know that we start from the hierarchy of Maslow. So the first step is food, shelter, and then we move on to safety, and then we are talking about physiological need, and then safety, and then on top we have got the self-actualization. And I think when NDIS comes in and we are talking about needs, we are thinking of, with the goals, we're thinking of self-actualization, while we have to look at those basic needs. Yeah. Is this person have a home? Is their person have got sense of belonging? Is there any family supports them? What about finances? And when we're talking about mental health, this is beyond imagination. Because sometimes when you go and talk about depression, people look at you, oh, I've got a depression too. This is not what you're talking about. I know there is depression, but depression is spectrum. It's not 0 to 100. And someone with 100, they can't function.
And there's that lack of understanding, especially in these days with COVID, where everyone has anxieties and depression, either different intense episodes or, as you said, on the spectrum. And so there's a lot more people applying for the NDIS, but as you said, when you're going towards that 100 area, it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's when people really need that help. And I like the kind of pyramid of needs and how, which one do they focus on? Is it the homelessness? Is it the financial? Which part of that pyramid do they need help with?
When you're talking to a person with mental health about goals, someone who has been drug addict, who has been schizophrenia, why they're struggling with mental health? Because they don't know how to develop goals. And now you want to submit your application for the NDIS. If you're lucky, if you provide all the evidence to get the NDIS application, now we are talking about your needs. They don't talk about their needs, they talk about your goals. What are your goals? Okay, my goals is to improve my mental health. Oh, really? You want to improve your mental health? This is self-actualization. You want to improve. This is a goal. I want to get better. And no one focuses on the recovery aspects, which is hope and optimism. Because this person is full of, they come back from hospital when they are diagnosed with schizophrenia, full of a bag of medication that they have to manage. Heaps of people who are coming and say, we're going to help you. Okay, where is the money? And this is my personal experience. Again, I have a client. He has got this drug-induced schizophrenia. He's 45. He's in one of the SEALs, and he has got $100,000 on as a fund. When you show that plan to him, he sees that 100,000. That 100,000 solve all his problems. That's what he's thinking. Yeah. But that 100,000 goes to all the services. Support workers. Me as positive behavior support practitioner is a big word for him. Occupational therapist. All of that. And he is like, no. Can you help me to get new clothes? Can you help me to get a phone? I don't like my shoes. Can you help me to get my shoes? I need accommodation. I don't want to be in this house. I can go to shower myself. I am independent in toileting. I am independent in eating. What are you going to help with me? Give me this 100,000. Which I'm like, I wish I could. And explaining that this is, I'm talking about someone who has got cognitive issues, someone who doesn't have the logic to process and analyze the information that I'm providing. And what he thinks, he's fixated on that money, and that money can help me. Why can we use that money to support with the accommodation? Why can't you do that? Why can't you buy me a cigarette with that money? Why don't you give me just $100 of that? Who is going to answer that question?
And answer it in a way where it'll be sunk in and understood. There's been a fair few times where someone's friend has gotten a plan and it's $60,000 and they ask, well, why, when I'm thinking about my NDIS plan, why haven't this money just going to go into my bank account?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then clients who are requesting robot vacuum cleaner because someone else has told them that they have got robot vacuum cleaner. And you're like, has anyone explained to you what is this plan for? Have you got the information? Well, I would love to get the vacuum cleaner, but this is not what government is going to provide for you.
So it's about talking with the individuals before they get the plan, before they even apply, going, okay, these are your needs and this is what it might look like, and having those realistic expectations from the get-go.
And then sitting with them and say, look, from my assessment and from our sessions, I think your needs are this. And then we are, within the NDIS plan, we are going to focus on these needs. And if they agree and if they see, so it's like, I repeat back to you what you told me, and then you look at your needs and you say, yes, that's what I think that I need. Yeah. So that plan is going to support you through those needs, accessing the community, teaching you how to use the bus, accessing the financial counselor to learn you how to budget, not to learning about what the public trustee works, or to teach you how to engage with the community and learning social skills. All those things, or cope with difficult situation, or how to gain an employment, encourage you to stand up for yourself. Teaching, that's the fun.
And reflecting all of it back to them so that they understand what you think their needs are. And then they can agree or disagree or have that conversation, but not to assume off those couple of conversations.
Yeah, and then now they know what their needs are. Now we're having providers coming in, and they're starting providing services.
Once they have their plan,
Yeah. As providers, we have to be really honest with ourselves that why are we in this industry? And are we really here to support that person to meet their needs or to meet our needs?
It's about taking that step back before even helping someone, going, okay, do I have the right mindset or the right way of thinking to be able to support the people that I'm saying I'm going to support?
Yeah, that's what we're facing at the moment.
So going through the Maslow's pyramid of needs, how would you talk through someone or help someone with some advice around if someone needs an NDIS plan or they're homeless at the same time? Kind of figuring out, okay, if I help them get an NDIS plan and they have support workers, well, then they've still gone without having a home. But then if I focus on the homelessness part, then they've gone without support for a while. How do you battle kind of those multiple really dire needs at the same time?
I am very fortunate to work with a great team of social workers, which was NPSM and now CPS. These guys are great social workers. So anytime that I have got issues with this, that's a hierarchy of need, and when I go and see the person, I have a social worker who is helping me. This is the solution to that question, which Richmond Wellbeing is provide. We have this program, a social worker gets the person before they go to the NDIS. So the battle for them starts with the social workers, which is amazing. But I don't think everyone has got this opportunity to access to the CPS. It's a huge list. Like I had a client, he ran away from home when he was 9, and he has been through a lot. Yeah. And he was 35. We were sitting in one room, and talking about his needs. He didn't know what he wants. He has been through a lot. He was not in a capacity to say, I need to feel safe. He was not. He was just sitting there and smoking cigars after cigars, smokes after smokes. And I was thinking, what can NDIS do for you? What is this support worker can do for you? What am I going to do here as an OT? What is the purpose? So I started to learn about this person, just learning who he is, where does he come from, and it took 1 year to learn what does he need. And what he needed was warm food. That was just that, warm food. Maybe it sounds simple, but he didn't know how to have warm food himself. Yeah. He didn't know how to use the microwave. And it was so hard for him as a 35-year-old to say, I don't know microwave. So that was just a challenge that I faced.
One of the things I think I'm hearing is to not rush to understand the needs. As you said, it took you a year to kind of have the relationship where he was able to communicate in his own way, I would like warm food. And so it's not putting that time, you need to rush things along and quickly to apply to NDIS when you don't understand those needs. So to have that time given that whatever pace that they need to be able to open up and communicate.
How do we start to think about different needs? And the rest. I started with the Maslow hierarchy, and I would like to summarize it in 3 sentences. We have got physiological needs, we have got safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. And when you manage to meet the needs at each steps as human being, we will go to the next step fulfilled with meeting the needs at previous step. And through all those things that we do, we forget about lots of things about that person. Because there is no way to learn about the person without spending time with that person, and NDIS fund is not enough to do that.
So don't get lost in chasing the need, but still have that, whilst you're learning the needs, still remember and focus on the person you're actually trying to support.
Yeah. You need to learn about that person and needs, and also speak on behalf of that person, maybe advocate for their needs, because sometimes people with mental health issues, they're not able to advocate for themselves. They have been through a lot. They have been traumatized. They can't trust. They live in limbo. So I as a person who's providing support in this community and in this field of work, I am responsible.
Well, thank you, Roya.
No
it's
worries.
been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's awesome to be able to walk alongside someone who has
Thank
a
you.
heart for the people they really try to support and be with.
Thank you very much for having me. I wish we find a way to use this NDIS as best as we can.
Absolutely. And for everyone else at home, we'll see you next week, and may you all live your best life.